Speaking of people in trouble, 10-24 in the SEC, you can't whitewash Brett Bielema's record. What happens to him?
Yeah, that seems like sort of an unwinnable situation for him, and I just wonder how attractive that job is. I think it's a fantastic fan base. They can perk up every now and then and challenge in the West, but you look at their recent history of big-time success, it was with Coach Petrino there, and it was before Coach Saban really got things rolling in the West. So I think it's a good job. You're going to make a lot of money. That's why Coach Bielema went there, but are you really going to recruit well? Do you have the facilities with the rest of the SEC? If you want to make a change, fine, but who are you going to get who's better?
You were high on Texas A&M.
Well, hold on. Somebody that has a better than 10-24 record is
true.
Who you will get.
Yeah, and there could be. I mean, who knows who's out there?
First of all, I don't think it's difficult to have a 10-24 record in the SEC.
But again,
maybe
throw me a name who's better. Who do you hire who's better than Brett Bielema tomorrow? Who wants that job? It's tough to find.
I'm sure Arkansas fans right now are screaming at the TV, anybody.
Well, Arkansas fans are very frustrated. I mean, I don't think that's – I don't think we talk enough about that. But I do want to ask you about Texas A&M. You were high on them coming into the season. They've ended up being –
No, I was down on them. I was actually high on Arkansas.
Laura's always trying to –
I wanted to just say you were high on them. Anyway, whatever.
He was high. He wasn't high on them.
Yeah, maybe that's why he wasn't high on them.
I think that Brett made some mistakes when he first came. And, everybody likes Brett. On a personal level, everybody likes Brett. But when he came, just like Les Miles did before him and others have tried, he tried to bring Big Ten football to the SEC. And it's taken him 4 years to realize the need for speed. And he's trying to fix it. But here he is in the fifth year, and he's 10-24 in conference, and the fans are tired. They're just tired of losing. Brett's had a lot of turnover on his staff, and some of them went on to better jobs, and some of them didn't. And he and Pittman parted on bad terms, and there's been a lot of turnover. And when he came, he said that was one of the reasons he was coming from Wisconsin was that he wasn't allowed to pay to keep assistants at Wisconsin. Well, he is allowed to pay at Arkansas, and there's been a lot of turnover and a lot of people questioning, if there's been any development of the offensive line since Pittman left to go to Georgia. And it's just there's so many questions right now, and I've got so few answers. I've been scratching my head since I was on the edge of my chair Saturday most of the game because I couldn't see over that high desk they had at South Carolina. But even when the game was over, I mean, it was out of hand by the start of the fourth quarter, and you're just sitting there going, "Wow, I'm watching something I'm not believing." They went down to the Houston Bowl, a lower-tiered bowl, and beat a really bad Texas team that didn't really show up for the game. And Jeff got kind of excited and extended his contract and gave him an $18 million buyout, which has since dropped to $15.4 million. And that's what's got a lot of people upset. You can't even make a change if you want to. You can't afford it. $15 million, and schools are trying to raise money like crazy for academics, and Arkansas is doing a $160 million expansion. And so, this is a blue-collar state that people love the Razorbacks. They want them to be competitive, but they don't want to see a coach walking off with a ton of money that didn't win. Jeff, I think Jeff's just like the rest of us. He really likes him. But I think Jeff's got an issue with – I'm just going to be honest with you guys, and this is just me, and I'm examining this. I think this new wave of athletic directors are really good at raising money. I'm not so sure they're so good at hiring coaches. A lot of them even go out and hire firms to do it. To me, that's ridiculous. An athletic director ought to have a drawer full of guys that he's ready to say next to.
You know how difficult it is to win at Alabama and in the SEC, having stated all that, which is obvious, your impressions of Coach Saban and what he has done these last 10 years.
Just a fabulous job. One thing that people may or they may not realize is that they've done the best recruiting job year after year after year. I think it's been 10 years since Alabama's been an underdog. But the people that's making these decisions on who's the best team, they're not always right, but they're close to being right. So when you go 10 years and you're not an underdog, that says that you've got good players. And you've got good players that are well coached. That's a tough combination to beat. And that's what Coach Saban and his staff do. They recruit well and they coach them well.
It's also left to pundits like me to try to compare decades and eras, and it's really not fair. But you understand it because you've coached in so many different eras, and you played such an important role on some of Coach Bryant's greatest teams in the 60s. Is there any way to look at what Coach Bryant did in this?
No, there's not. Let me tell you why. When I was coaching for Coach Bryant, we had one guy, Hayden Riley, who handled our recruiting, and he was a baseball coach or something else. And all of the coaches had certain areas that we recruited in. Like I recruited North Alabama, and somebody recruited South Alabama. Now Alabama probably has 9 or 10 people that don't do anything but recruit. But we recruited primarily the state of Alabama. Coach Bryant wanted people that grew up hating Auburn, want to beat Auburn. We recruit people now that don't even know where Auburn is. So I think they do a better job of getting good players better than Coach Bryant did. We took sort of what we had. What they do now is they go and find they'll bring them from California, from Las Vegas, just all over the country. Not many players really are from the state of Alabama.
I always love to talk to you about Coach Bryant, and I know for a lot of young people probably haven't heard some of these conversations, but playing for him, working for him, first of all, what was it like to be a player for Bear Bryant?
Well, you played with a little fear.
Little?
Yeah. You wanted to hear Coach Bryant say, "You did a good job, son. You played that play well. You did this properly." You would do anything to get to hear him say that. That's the difference. He understood people. People wanted to please Coach Bryant. Players wanted to please him. Coaches wanted to please him. Alumni wanted to please him. Presidents wanted to please him. Trustees wanted to please him. So it's a little easier to win when everybody wants to please you. And obviously the players on the top of the list say, we really want to please Coach Bryant.
Working for him, was it any different?
No, it was sort of hard, really. I loved every minute that I worked for him because I loved him so much, and that was one of his secrets. He hired people that had a great respect for him, and he knew that. And if you love somebody and you're going to work hard to see that they're successful, you're going to work hard to see that they recruit well, and that was part of his secret. He hired people that were very loyal to him.
It's just so extraordinary to think about his legacy, Coach, and I know that you can't really, and you're too humble to probably admit that, but to talk about him without thinking about you as a player. And when you took over, I remember sitting in that press conference, and for the first time since he left, it felt and sounded like Coach Bryant was back, because you were as close to Coach Bryant as anybody could ever dream.
Well, I loved Coach Bryant. There's no question about that, and I think he respected what I tried to do for him. But there was only one Coach Bryant. Don't get me wrong. I think Coach Saban has done an absolutely fabulous job. But it's hard to compare different eras. That's like comparing the old Yankees to the present-day teams. The old Yankees, they beat people year after year after year, and now it's a different game. Same thing with football. Coaches, they handle things a little differently. Coach Saban has more coaches on his staff, assistant coaches, and I forget what you call them, but they'll have somebody will be an ex-head coach, and next thing you know, he'll be working at Alabama as I don't even know.
I think they call them analysts, Coach.
Yeah, analysts. They may have a handful of analysts. I didn't even know what that word was when I was coaching. So that's an advantage when you can do that.
Well, number one, I thank you for coming on, and most important, even more important than that, we wish you good health and stay well, Coach. And it's always such a pleasure and an honor to talk to you.
Well, Paul, it's been my pleasure, and I hope you have a good year. And look, I hope our paths cross before long.
I hope so. Always enjoy seeing you. Be well, Coach.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
What an honor. Gene Stallings, just off of being honored at Kyle Field the other day, and just truly one of the greatest people, greatest men that's ever been in this profession. What about this, Laura?
This is funny from Saturday Down South. More likely to happen than Arkansas beating Alabama. All right, there's some good ones on here. Stingray disowns Mississippi State sticks out to me. Paul, where is Stingray these days? I haven't heard from him in a
done.
while. Okay. Marlins man stops going to sporting events. This is more likely to happen than Arkansas beating Alabama. Bielema gets a hole-in-one.
Is that what is significant about that? Does Bielema play golf?
I'm not sure what's significant.
Phyllis calling the Hogs?
Phyllis will not call the Hogs. That's for sure. Bielema runs the hurry up. That's not happening. Aliens invade the Earth. I mean, maybe that's happening. I don't know. Okay, this is a funny thing.
I don't want to criticize Saturday Down South with one of their top people here. There are a couple of those I didn't completely get.
Well, a lot of them were odes to people on your show, but
yeah.
What? Okay, I get why we're
Mark
doing
and
this
John,
right now.
Did you guys find anything humorous about that? I decided to throw them a curveball.
A little bit, Paul. I like the one about.
Well, because man. The two bearded ones are back.
Yeah, I figured if Mark's going to rock a beard, I better rock a beard these next fall months, Paul.
You didn't think that was funny? Sweater on your face.
You don't think it's funny? Aliens going to invade Earth before Arkansas beats Alabama this weekend? But, Paul, we just had to come up with something to make this game somewhat interesting that we could talk about it for 2 minutes.
But it's not interesting, though.
Well, this was the best that we could do.
Okay.
This was our way of. We can't show the FPI because it's going to be like 95%.
Yeah.
We can't put any great Alabama stuff, or Saban's going to.
What is the FPI, by the way?
So we thought we'd put this up.
It's like 99.
Is
it's
it
almost
really?
close to 99. I'll take a look right now.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, but let me just say something really fast here, guys. Arkansas has played Alabama close. Now I get it. This is a totally different Arkansas team. That was a couple years ago. But there have been times,
don't start
Paul,
giving me all this stuff.
Well, let me just tell you something. Who tried to tell you the other day that LSU had way more of a chance in Gainesville than people were giving, and that Texas A&M might be Alabama's toughest test, at least up until this point?
It's 98.1%.
98.1. Do you ever remember one like that for an SEC game? I mean, a legitimate SEC game, not.
The Ole Miss Alabama game
close?
was close to that. I forget what it was exactly, but
I like it. I like Alabama to win. So who keeps it closer in those games?
Missouri, Georgia, or Arkansas, Bama? I'm going to say Arkansas, Bama is closer than Missouri, Georgia. And that is because Missouri is so bad right now. I think Missouri is in a worse spot than Arkansas.
Yeah, and I think Arkansas knows that this is, although Missouri played pretty well last week.
They did against Kentucky. I don't
know. Kentucky will play down to your level.
That's happened to them.
Yeah, every week they do that. They win, but
take the Florida. I mean, whatever. Yeah. Florida's not that good either, so that game sort of applies there as well. Yeah. But Paul, and then for Arkansas, what could be considered a victory this week, Paul?
I don't think there is a victory this week as long as they lose a game.
Yeah.
I mean, Arkansas is no longer in the. I mean, they've had moral victories with Alabama. This will not be one.
Well, that's what I'm getting at because they have had that before.
I mean, short of them losing the game on a controversial call, there is no victory other than winning,
which is highly unlikely.
No, it's.
I guess. I mean, then again, whatever. This is not going to happen. I'm just bringing it up for the sake of annoying you. Oklahoma did lose to Iowa State.
They did, and I mean there have been upsets like that, but in Nick Saban's tenure,
those things don't happen.
They have not. This has not happened.
No. Yeah.
At least since his second year. Now he lost to La Monroe his first year, but
that was. I mean, that feels like an eternity ago. Brett Bielema is going to be searching for a lot of answers this week, I think.
Ben is next in Arkansas. How are you, Ben?
Hi, am I on the line with Peter Bartholomew Firebomb?
I'm thinking about changing my name down to
Winston
Bartholomew.
Oh. like Win.
All
Yeah,
right,
we
well,
could call you Winnie.
I like. Well, no, too many bad connotations there. I do like the name Winston, though. It's very proper.
Winston fits you very well.
Yes.
Well, jumping into the comments and questions here, Miss Laura, please do not ever again use the name Lane Kiffin and the words Arkansas head football coach.
You didn't like that, Ben?
Please.
Would you like Lane to be your coach?
Please, no.
We have an Arkansas fan in studio. Would you like? No. Reagan says no. All right, fine. If Reagan says no, and Ben says no.
Can you see Lane doing those
calling the Hogs?
Tyson commercials and Walmart commercials?
I could see him calling the Hogs.
Oh, I could see that.
Ben, you're not about it,
Kiffin? Lane Kiffin calling the Hogs?
At the end of every coach, how about this? Coach Kiffin, thanks for being with us. Thank you, Bob. Woo pig. No,
pig.
Not happening.
No,
not happening.
Ben,
First of all,
you got to look the part to say woo pig.
Yeah, Ben, Lane Kiffin's not going to go to Arkansas. Don't worry about that.
Well, Laura, I was worried you were serious because you mentioned it yesterday and then you went on to some degree today.
Oh, don't take her seriously, please, Ben.
I cannot think of a worse fit.
Who do you think?
Other than Bobby Petrino.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen either. Who do you think is a good fit, though, Ben? If you had to pick your absolute best fit right now.
Arkansas traditionally has done well. Not always. This has not always been an exclusive thing, but Arkansas has always done well when their head coach has had a connection to the state of Arkansas.
So who has one?
Charlie Strong.
I think Charlie Strong would be a great coach. I forgot he's from what town in Arkansas?
Charlie Strong did not play at Arkansas.
No, but he's from Arkansas.
He's from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yes.
I forget the town. We'll find out. Maybe somebody can tell us. But
that's a great point, Ben. I keep forgetting Charlie's from Arkansas.
And we've talked about
Batesville, Arkansas.
We've talked about Charlie being somebody who could be considered for some of these
I think Charlie would be great at
openings.
Arkansas. Didn't they try to hire him once before?
Guys, listen to this. Charlie Strong, okay, he's got the connection to the state. He understands the culture of the state, and I think he understands the culture of being a Razorback.
Didn't Lane Kiffin live in Arkansas one time?
Yeah.
He's got some relatives, I think.
But didn't Monty coach in Arkansas?
Maybe, but
still. Don't know.
That may be a stretch. Charlie Strong makes a lot more sense if we're throwing out people who have ties.
Well, he said connections.
Think about this. Charlie Strong, who has been in Texas with the University of Texas, so he knows how to run a big program. He has recruited in Texas. He is regarded as being great at recruiting in Florida. Mm-hmm. This summer, I looked at the list. It may have changed now, but this summer, Coach Bielema was the 14th highest paid coach in the country. So they're going to pay Charlie Strong a bundle. They're going to pay him to hire the best assistants he wants and to try and retain them. And earlier, John Chris said that Arkansas had problems with recruiting and facilities. Let's put recruiting aside for one moment.
Facilities are not a problem.
There's only 3 or 4 schools in the country that have facilities that are better than, arguably better than Arkansas.
Okay, you sold me. I just texted Charlie. He said yes.
Yeah, Charlie's in. We've got that for you, Ben. Ben, Arkansas's facilities are exceptional, and they continue to get better facilities too. Jerry Jones has donated. I mean, there's no shortage of facilities. I don't remember John saying that, but if he did, that's not true at Arkansas.
Their chance of getting to 12-0 pre-Atlanta.
Is it 9? What's coming?
98%.
I'm leaving a small margin of error because right now, I do think Jalen Hurts might be the MVP of the league right now for who he is for that team. But I also flip on the film, and I still see some things that are to be desired in the passing game.
Yep.
So I want to see that develop. I don't think they're going to lose, and I still think this is going to be an epic game, but I think Alabama's got the lead there.
You know what you just provided? Rat poison.
Oh, yeah. I'm feeding into it. I'm feeding into it right now. Don't listen to me. Listen to your coach.
Okay. Okay, all right. That's that one, yeah.
This is going to challenge Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why it's going to challenge them, not only because I think Auburn is physically ready to play against Alabama. When you look on the field with Auburn, they have the same type of guys. Mm-hmm. The front four, the linebackers, the big offensive line, they're able to run the football, and they have a quarterback that can hurt you downfield. The things we've seen hurt Alabama. And not to mention, Alabama has injuries. And at some point, that may catch up with them when they run into a team like Auburn.
Yeah, got one thing I want to write myself here.
Sorry, we're not helping out.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick. More rat poison.
Let's get that out of here. Forget what we just did.
So while we're not necessarily talking Heisman, we can talk most valuable player in this league. And you supplied a list, and you're on par with his list. So let's go through these guys, and let's start it with Jalen Hurts. What makes him so valuable?
Well, the ability to make the big play at any given time. And look, people talk about Jalen Hurts downfield passing. Jalen Hurts can throw the football. And when he has an opportunity to get to his second and third read, he can make the play. But his legs are his calling card, and he uses them as well as anybody in the country.
Marcus, he's so dangerous with his legs. They get inside the red zone. Those power runs with the quarterback are so dangerous. He hasn't been tested throwing the football yet. He haven't needed to. He's a weapon, though.
He looks like he's jogging all the time. It's incredible.
He's running away from guys.
How about Minkah Fitzpatrick in the Alabama secondary?
Talk about a playmaker, a guy that sets the tone for a defense.
Yes.
I don't care how talented you are, you have to have a guy that sets the tone, what he can do with the football, ball skills, let alone how physical he is. He makes that thing go.
Cares about football. And I think when you talk about the leadership role that Saban wants players to take on, he embodies that. He's the go-to guy for any and all things Alabama defense, and he delivers as well.
How about from a most valuable player type of standpoint?
But how about for Austin Allen and what's going on? This is several years in a row that Dan Enos is trying to put him in the right spot. He's so beat up behind that offensive line. How can they change for Arkansas?
It's one of those things that's tough. I feel bad for Austin Allen being in that spot, but they got to find a way to get the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker, whether it's quick game, whether it's screens, whether it's moving him outside the pocket, changing his launch angle. You see him trying to move there, but it's not a lot of space for him. They just got to find quicker, easier throws for him, because right now he is being just pummeled right now.
I went to see Austin in the spring. We talked about that because he got hit like 36 times last year. It was some ridiculous number. I said, what is going on there? He said, part of that is on me. I have a tendency to hold the ball too long, wait, and hope the guy will come open. Coach Enos tells me, get rid of the ball. And that's something that Dan Enos also said this week. Austin needs to get rid of the ball and save himself a little bit.
Just weird that when we're talking Arkansas football, we're talking a quarterback and not really the running backs, and really in that offensive line, something that we've seen that Brett Bielema has brought to Fayetteville the last couple of years, but not so much this year. Yeah. All right, you need to start walking over there because we got something to get
over there.
Let's go a little next level here. There. Go over there. How much of a beating has Austin Allen taken? One of the advanced metrics that we track is pressure percentage, okay, which is a percentage of dropbacks in which a quarterback is sacked, hit, or duress. Allen has been pressured on 37% of his 137 dropbacks this season. Wow. Highest rate among SEC quarterbacks, and Chase Crouch at Illinois and Nebraska's Tanner Lee have the higher rate among Power 5 quarterbacks.
That's tough. Any quarterback who's getting hit that often, you're going to have the antsy feet. You're going to hold on to it, and you're going to be a little anxious once you get in that pocket.
I don't want to ignore the Arkansas-Alabama game, even though Brett Bielema would probably like us to.
It's okay.
I mean, this program has just been a mess to watch, and now they're playing the best team in the country, trying to find some solution on the road. Help us understand Arkansas right now.
Identity, first and foremost, and I think sometimes change works and sometimes change doesn't work. They wanted to go to a 3-4 defense because they felt they had athletes that fit better in that scheme. It hasn't worked. And I think Paul Rhodes is a really good defensive coordinator, and his hands have been a bit tied. Look at the offenses that he's played. There's some teams who can really move the football. But I think offensively, what did Brett Bielema do and stamp his name on when he came into this league? Power, football, run right at you. Right. We will be more physical than you. And even though they want to look like that, they've gotten away from that. And I think that is the biggest conflict with what is happening with Arkansas today.
It's hard to find solutions to your problems at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Not many teams do, Paul.
No, not at all.
Most teams leave there having more problems.
Turn that. The alphabet has more W's than Missouri.
Well
done.
Welcome
welcome in Damien Harris, the great running back from the University of Alabama. Always great to catch up with you, Damien. I hate to start with your coach, but he has been the talk of the country since Saturday night, the famous rat poisoning rant. I just have to get the reaction from the locker room. What are the guys saying about that?
You know, we haven't really had much time to discuss it, but you know, Coach Saban, you know, he is how he is with the media. You know, I don't really know how he feels about you guys, but at least he makes it interesting. So, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it in the locker room a little bit here and there, but that's just kind of how he is.
But Damien, I do want to get to the other side of it, and I feel like I know you well enough because we've talked a few times, and you seem so measured. I mean, he was blaming the media for praising the Alabama team, but every time we talk, you guys are so measured and focused. It's hard for me to believe that even though that game was closer than some of the experts thought it would be, that you guys have lost focus.
Right. You know, I mean, I think what Coach Saban means by it is he just doesn't want us, you know, looking into the media, seeing what people say on things like SportsCenter, SEC Nation. He doesn't want us getting caught up in the hype. And, you know, we had a couple good weeks where we had some good scores against some good opponents. And, you know, his biggest thing is he just doesn't want us to get caught up in that. You know, he knows that it's a long season, that what we did last week doesn't determine what we do in the future. So he just wants us to stay focused. We know we got another great opponent this week as well as the rest of the season. So he just wants us to stay focused and stay, you know, determined in what we do, zoning in practice, doing the things that we need to do to continue to be a great team.
Mark Ingram said this the other night. What I'm telling you about 34 real deal Holyfield. That is a compliment. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, that was a huge compliment, especially coming from a guy like that. Somebody that really laid the foundation for this program, and being able to play the same position as a guy like that, sitting in the seat where he sat at when he was here, and you know, seeing clips of him all the time in the meeting room, and just knowing the legacy that he left at this program. I mean, it was an incredible honor to hear something like that come from him. You know, I don't really know how to describe it. It was a great feeling, but you know, like I said, you can't get too caught up in what people say. And you know, I'll take the compliment. You know, it's not like I don't want it, but you know, it was a great compliment. And, you know, I really appreciate that coming from him. But like I said, you just got to stay focused and get prepared for our upcoming opponent.
Best player to this point in the SEC.
This was a tough one, Dari. I mean, there's nobody that really jumps off the board. Some folks may have said Kerryon Johnson, but he missed a couple games. Yeah. I went with the most consistent, and that's Jalen Hurts. A guy, we know what he brings Alabama's offense in the rushing department. He's improved his passing skills this year. 7 touchdowns, throwing the football, 5 rushing. But the most important thing, Dari, no interceptions, no turnovers at all, in fact. Doing a great job leading this Alabama offense that we know has tons of weapons around it.
They just committed their first turnover as a team of the season last week. Robert Foster dropped the football. All right, so Jalen Hurts is your best player. Best performance. I like this because it could be an individual game. Yeah. It could be by a player, by a team. Where'd you go with this?
I went with a team in 2 games. How about that back-to-back run they had against conference opponents, right? 125-3 against Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. I know a lot of people might point to the fact that those are 2 of the lower teams in the conference, but it really was about Alabama. They went out there and completely controlled, averaged almost 40 minutes in time of possession in those 2 ball games. How about this? 1 of 24 for opponents' third down conversion tries. Over 600 yards of offense in each of those games. So really a pretty strong performance for Alabama going against 2 conference foes.
I thought the one against Vanderbilt was the Vanderbilt came in talking a wee bit too much smack.
Yeah. And it was a focused Alabama team against Vanderbilt.
And an angry one, too. One that Nick Saban even mentioned the talk that Vandy was doing, and that'd be the last time anybody should talk about Alabama before they're going to play them. All right, best game.
There's a couple here. Let me give a little bit of a tip of the cap to that Tennessee-Georgia Tech game, the opening week of the season. But had to go with Texas A&M and Arkansas, right? I mean,
Aren't they always
they're always good. Over the last 4 years, 3 of them have gone to overtime. In fact, this one here, in the 4th quarter, the last 9 minutes, 4 lead changes back and forth. We had that long Kellen Mond run earlier in the game that should have been a touchdown. We had a Christian Kirk kickoff return for a touchdown. So tons of big plays, back and forth lead changes, overtime, free football. It's everything you could have asked for, Dari.
Arkansas, Alabama.
mismatch here as well. We talked about Georgia and Missouri. This is the same kind of situation. I'm going with Alabama 49-17. It's just not a great match. If you think about Arkansas, they couldn't run the football last week against South Carolina. You think they're going to be able to do it against this Alabama defense?
No,
not so much. And you know Alabama's going to get that downhill rushing attack. They'll have 4 or 5 guys carrying that football, and I think it's going to be a long day for Arkansas.
Also, hear the art of the press conference. You never know what you might hear. You might learn a little bit about rat poison or other things, too.
I don't think we had a guy on that field that didn't play in the NFL, and about 4 or 5 of them were first-round draft picks. And I think that team won a national championship, but I'm not sure. And they run through our like through a tin horn, man, and we could not stop them.
On the road at the Swamp today.
How about after blowing out Ole Miss and Vandy, Alabama struggled against the Aggies of Texas A&M last week, and it's because of guys like Reese and Kirk and Coach. You guys are rat poison. That's the reason they struggled against the Aggies. But I tell you what, Austin Allen's been beat up. I don't know if he's going to be able to go today, guys. Should be a good one, though. Alabama and Arkansas, the tied a 30-point favorite. Remains to be seen if Austin Allen can go. And, well, there's the Nick Saban statue, and everybody will walk right past it when they go in to Bryant-Denny Stadium. A statue doesn't show emotion, stoic, doesn't respond with any type of emotion to any type of questions posed toward a statue. Sort of like the exact opposite that you get from Nick Saban when you find him in another venue, like, say, behind a wooden lectern there. Do we have someone step in there? Tom Rinaldi's on the board.
Tommy.
Thank you very much, Reese. Let me get into the proper setting and character here to answer any question you might want to put forward. What or why or how? What could be simpler than the exchange of a question and an answer? A simple Q&A. It's a way to gain information, build understanding, to really increase our insight. When you ask a question to Nick Saban in this setting, well, it can be something else instead. Where we are sitting. Where are we?
The press room. The press room. Okay. I've had good and bad experiences here. Is that what kind of program you want the University of Alabama to have? To represent the people in this state, and it really doesn't matter what you say. So you can ask the bottle. I could give a about all that. Excuse my French, but don't ask me. You answer that question. And they run through our ass like through a tin horn, man, and we could not stop them. Well, it's just a phrase that when I was a player, the defensive coordinator used to use all the time when they were running the ball on us. So it kind of stuck, And I really don't even know what it means.
Coach, a question about your relationship with the media.
Just know that what you think doesn't count. I can tell by the nature of this press conference that you all think I'm absolutely crazy. And I know people sort of try to make me to be a bit of a Till of the Hun. I mean, you want me to do a Belichick on you?
Are there any dumb questions?
Never answer a what if. So do I need to do a media thing with you guys, not to ask what ifs?
Coach, just a quick follow-up on that.
Better make it a good one now, because I'm about half fired up here. I have a tremendous amount of respect for those in the media. Where I have a difficult time is sometimes they think they're entitled to things that I don't think they're entitled to. Why would you ask me? I mean, I read stuff all the time like, oh, that's nice to know. Where'd you come up with that? Just, had a dream about it or what?
How would you characterize your attitude, generally speaking, when you walk through that door?
I always have a message, and I want to get the message to our fans, and I want to get our message to the players. I don't even know what you asked me, but I just wanted to say that.
Regardless of what you're asked?
Regardless. It's called bridging questions.
Give us a lesson.
I'm about ready to bridge some of yours.
Coach, you guys have been dominant. How pleased are you with how you guys are performing?
All that stuff you write about how good we are, and all that stuff they hear on ESPN, it's like poison. It's like taking poison, like rat poison.
What do you think Coach Saban is thinking about when he stands behind that lectern and the lights are up and he looks out at this group of people?
I guess he thinks you all are rat poison.
Sometimes things come out that I wish didn't. Poison would have been good enough. I didn't need to take the extra step. I admit that.
His biggest thing is he doesn't want us getting influenced by the media. And I don't necessarily think it's about what you guys do. I think it's more about us.
Because if it was up to you, we're 6 foot under already. We're dead and buried and gone. Gone.
Coach, why?
Even though it may not seem like, I have a respect for the media and some of those and all the folks that cover us. I do. But my patience level is not always what it should be. So I'm going to leave it at that. And, you know, thanks for asking.
From 2007 to about now, we're all familiar with the hand gestures. We get it. We added up the math, and conservatively, Reese, we'd say that Nick Saban has held more than 400 press conferences. He's answered thousands upon thousands of questions. 2 years ago, before the national title game, I asked him, when's the last time you were asked a question you genuinely wanted to answer? He looked right at me for an uncomfortably long time and said, I'm still waiting. I think he's still waiting. And by the way, Coach, in case you need it for the effective control of rats and mice, we have it right here for you, Coach. We can get it down to you. Reese?
Tommy, before you go, just a couple of questions, maybe a two-parter here. Talk about what if you couldn't ask somebody why.
I have already answered. Talk to the bottle. Talk to this bottle. I've already talked. I've talked about this enough. I've had enough.
Oh, man. Now that's a new one that Nick could put in a repertoire, because my knowledge, I don't think he hasn't.
No, not yet. Not yet. He's thrown it. Yeah.
That's like straight Rinaldi right there.
That's the drop the mic. That's the drop the podium. I'm gone. He just gave Nick an idea, by the way.
Exactly. I'm worried. Tom didn't spill the rest.
Did not play as well defensively as we need to. Don't think we got better this week.
I didn't say we're not able to finish. I said we didn't.
No means has anybody arrived now. They got the game ball. That's gone on Monday.
When you play in places like this, you got to make people sit on their hands.
We didn't play to the standard that we're supposed to play to.
I'm trying to get our players to listen to me instead of listening to you guys.
Because they've been told by everybody, y'all, and everybody else that they're the greatest thing ever.
You know, all that stuff you write about how good we are, and all that stuff they hear on ESPN, it's like poison. You know what I mean? It's like taking poison, like rat poison.
So I spent some time in Tuscaloosa this week with Coach Saban, and I think we can all agree that he's a master motivator. He's trying so hard to avoid complacency. He's fighting the media. He's fighting fans. He's fighting anyone who says Alabama is any good. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to the whole rat poison deal, he might even think that he would want to rephrase that next time, though.
Poison would have been good enough. I didn't need to take the extra step. I admit that.
He can be a very hilarious coach, and, you know, for him to use those two words, I mean, I don't know where he gets those from, but that's Coach Saban for you.
Like rat poison.
We just laugh. You know, it's funny. It's great seeing him going off, and you know, just the message that he carries with it.
If you're undefeated and everybody's patting you on the back telling you how good you are, you know, you'll kind of forget how you got there.
I think that his biggest thing is he doesn't want us getting influenced by the media. And I don't necessarily think it's about what you guys do. I think it's more about us.
And he's right. If someone tells you you're a king, you know, you start thinking you're a king, but, you know, in reality, you're just another player. It's just you have to progress each week and be better.
What do you guys think? Rat poison? Was it too far? He admitted it.
You know, honestly, I think that Coach Saban really likes throwing out these phrases, and he chuckles to himself with it. And I think he goes home with Miss Saban, and they laugh about these things. And, you know, honestly, he's a great motivator, and he gives his team an edge. But I think sometimes when it's something like this, I think he has the most fun out of it, more than we would ever have.
Besides being directly toxic to mammals, including dogs, cats, and humans. Rat poison. That's what we are.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I really feel, I hate to do this because I don't like to ask for this, but I think Nick Saban owes the rat community an apology.
At 7:15 Eastern on ESPN, Arkansas on the road taking on the Crimson Tide. Bielema says he's optimistic about Austin Allen playing. Allen, of course, still nursing an injured right shoulder. The analytics of the playoff prediction model gives Alabama a 67% chance to make the playoffs, and that's after Clemson and Wazoo lost last night. That chance, of course, went up. And these are not the teams right now, but this is just the percentage chance to make it. 538 giving the Dogs here a 37% chance to make the playoff and a 9% chance of winning the whole thing. FYI, Auburn has a 12% chance to join the party, too. So, when you think about the way that the playoff could potentially play out, and we're in October here, so we can talk about this, how big is the gap, Tim, between Alabama and then Georgia/Auburn?
Well, I don't think there's a huge gap between Alabama and Georgia and even Auburn. I think there's a huge gap after the first three. But I think Georgia's been making up a lot of ground, and Alabama's not that far away from the other top teams in the SEC.
Yeah, the physicality. When you look at the level of defense they play, these offenses are running the ball well, but what can they do when you stop it? And I think all three of these defenses can possibly give these offenses more problems than anybody else in the country.
Three best defenses in the SEC.
No doubt. No doubt.
And in the country.
Oh, your twin made it up here.
Yeah, well.
We will get your twin on camera momentarily, guys.
Okay.
Oh, it's okay.
We're actually going to take you out and put him in for the rest of the show. Sorry, Paul. Okay, a huge game, though, in Tuscaloosa with the Crimson Tide taking on Arkansas. And one of the things that Nick Saban wanted to make clear this week is his respect for this Arkansas team coming to T-Town. He didn't want anyone to get it twisted, healthy Austin Allen or not. This is a talented Hogs group, and the heart and soul of their team is offensive lineman Frank Ragnow. Now, his heart will be heavy today as it's the 1-year anniversary of his father's death. He will be heading to Alabama to take on a team that obviously will be a challenge for him, but it was a goal with him and his dad to make sure that he made it to the NFL. Every single day that he suits up, he is out there preserving his father's legacy and making sure that John lives on in everyone's hearts.
Frank's relationship with his dad was, I think they were very close when Frank was growing up. They were very competitive with each other. They were very close in loving the outdoors, loving hunting, loving fishing, and then the sports. Frank was good and kept going with it.
He wouldn't let me dream. It was, you have goals. He'd always say, I'm going to keep putting pizzas in the oven, and you're going to buy me the helicopter.
I knew that Frank was progressing in a way that his junior year he was going to have a decision, so Frank and his dad came in and sat in my office on my invitation, and we talked about what we would do at the end of his junior year. And I remember his dad grabbed me when he was walking out the door, and he looked at me and he said, Coach, all we're going to do is keep working the way that we need to work. I just smiled and gave John a hug and said, appreciate it. And I mean, that moment will forever be etched in my mind.
October 1st, 2016, Arkansas was in Little Rock to play Alcorn State. The Razorbacks won, but the high would be short-lived.
Frank Ragnow's mom called me late Saturday night, and Frank's dad watched the game with his family, and John passed after the game with a heart attack.
It was our anniversary. And our 22nd. We were together as a family. We watched the game and we kind of talked later for our anniversary. And he asked me where he wanted to go, and he told me that he loved me. And thanks for sticking with him. And then we just kind of laid there. We were both on our phones. The game was over. The Ryder Cup was in town, so we were watching the golf. And he just fell over. And after that, we called 911.
Coach Bielema called you into his office, and your mom was on the phone.
Yeah.
Take us through that.
It was I know. It just all hit me, and it was terrible. And then just so many things went through my head, like, because you don't realize that. Yeah, you hear your mom crying and saying your dad's gone, but then it's just like I still think he's gonna walk through the door. I instantly ran downstairs and started crying and everything, and I wanted to get away, and he came down and he sat there with me, and we cried for like an hour.
It's the best thing ever to send your kid so far away to school and know that he has a second family. He's very well taken care of. Coach B has never gone back on one word he has ever told me while he was recruiting. He treats his players like family.
Coach Brett Bielema and his wife Jen arranged a private jet to fly Frank Ragnow home to Minnesota, and they accompanied him on the trip. Frank attended his father's funeral that Thursday morning and returned to Fayetteville that night to prepare for the Razorbacks game against Alabama.
It was a no-brainer. My mom knew. She knew that I had to play. Everybody knew that I had to play for him.
I think Frank knew all along that he was going to play because he knew that's what his dad would want. And Frank has that in him to be able to deal with what's going on, but be able to move forward. He wanted to make his dad proud.
Arkansas lost to the top-ranked Crimson Tide. And after the game, Alabama head coach Nick Saban made it a point to seek out Ragnow, as Saban had also lost his father when he was in college.
What I said to him was, this is a difficult time for you. I understand it. I went through it myself, but what you have to have is gratitude for the years that you had with your father and the memories that you had, the lessons that you learned.
The main thing he said was try to remember all the good things, all the good times you had. It's funny how he ended up coming up and saying like that, because my dad and I, we had a lot of fun.
After starting every game for the remainder of the season, Ragnow decided to return for his senior year to further prepare for his NFL future.
The dream was to make it to the NFL, take care of my mom and dad, go to the cabin, go fishing, and just be best friends together, and then it's just gone. And that's just what's been killing me. When I get to football and everything, I'm good. I have so much fun here, I get distracted and everything, but when I'm home at night, it is the worst thing in the world. It's tough, and you just want him back, you know? And I'll listen to his voicemails because I just want to remember his voice. I don't want to forget him. I'm so scared to forget him.
Thank you, Dari Nowkhah, for that story. And Frank Ragnow will make his 32nd consecutive start today. That's the longest streak on the team. I think we all know he'll never forget his father as he continues to live his legacy on every single day.
Well, I'm gonna take it the route of the best player right now, and I'm gonna go with Minkah Fitzpatrick. I love this guy. I think from day one he's been the leader. He's been the heart and soul of defense for Alabama. And when you talk about a versatile player, he does everything for their team. Yes, on special teams, at safety, at linebacker, at nickel, at corner. Whatever you need him to do, he's going to do, especially in the fourth quarter, coming up with a huge pick to win the game for his team. I love it because he does whatever it takes to get the job done. Yeah, he's going to be a top 10 pick. I don't care about that. I care about how he plays every single Saturday. He's the best player on the field every Saturday.
Well, yeah, I hear you, but Alabama's not Alabama without the guy that's taking the snaps. And to me, it's a no-brainer. Look, we can talk about MVPs.
It's not a no-brainer.
We can talk about MVPs. We can talk about, we can say this to make people feel good, but Jalen Hurts is the best player in the league, in the conference right now, bro. Look, there is no way to prepare for this guy. The fact that you cannot, he's unguardable. He's like the NBA guy who's unguardable. Take away the pass. Everybody says he can't pass. Okay, I'll run for 200 and score 4 touchdowns. Oh, I can't throw? All right, take somebody out of the middle of the field. I'll show you I can throw the ball down the field. He creates so many problems for people, and I don't think Alabama's the same football team without two at quarterback.
I mean, it's unbelievable that on that running or that running game for Alabama, he might be the most talented. With how
he is their leading rusher.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there on value. I see what you're saying with Minkah. He's absolutely dynamic.
A redshirt freshman making his first career start, Cole Kelly. More on that in a moment.
Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and Maria Taylor. Arkansas won the toss, deferred, so they'll kick it off. Connor Limpert to Henry Ruggs, the true freshman who is deep, and we'll see the Tide offense on the field first. And the lefty boots it to the end zone. Formation for the Hogs' first play. Play action, and Kelly on the roll. He's a runner, too. Big fella slides down at 270. He's been sort of a situational running quarterback so far. Damian Harris took the opening play 75 yards to the end zone. Even if they load up, can they stop it? Hurts now dropping back all kinds of time, but it's batted down at the line.
Looked like he may have got his hand up there, 41, right there. Good job of timing that. Couldn't get to Hurts, but he does on the road at Syracuse. Still wants to be here for his coach and his teammates. Very cool.
This is Harris running left. This time the Hogs set the edge, string it out, and drop him for just a yard gain.
Well, how about Harris? He shows the explosiveness earlier with a big run, the vision. Here he's going to show you the power. They've got one defender, two defenders, three defenders, all four defenders, all had a chance to bring him down, but Damian Harris would not be denied. That's why you keep those legs moving and eventually end up in the end zone. Tide are rolling. Those quotes will be challenged today for the teammates.
Kelly, there's a short completion. And it'll set up a third and short. That ball complete.
Play is not being physical.
Need 4 yards for their first down tonight. Tide bring pressure. Big fella stands in and delivers. And it's a completion to Deion Stewart, off and running across the 40. He stood in there against some heat.
Play action pass game off of that run.
Got to hurry, 3rd and 5. They just do get it away. Hurts is going to be trapped behind the line and dropped for the Hogs' first sack of the night. Ruggs back deep for the Tide. Comes up, muffs it again for a second time. Ball rolling around, and this time looks like the Razorbacks have it. They do. So Henry Ruggs has mishandled 2 punts. Najee Harris is the back. The motion to him. Hurts looked that way. Wants to run, but the middle is clogged, and he'll be dropped for a loss.
So Ruggs, who's dropped a couple punts, all three of those guys are coming around.
Najee Harris is hit hard. You can hear the pads popping. As Arkansas defense starting to show some heart here, which is good to see. Finally, Hogs are crowding the line. They do bring some pressure. Tide forced to backpedal, and Hurts will be sacked. So it is to John Harris, the middle linebacker, with his first full sack of the season.
Who's going to win this battle? Here's Bo Scarborough right here. And here comes the blitz with the middle linebacker, Dre Greenlaw. Bang! Talk about a matchup and physicality. Goes right over top of Bo Scarborough. You got to win right there.
Hurts looked that way. It's batted down, though. Batted down at the line. He was trying to get the ball to Devontae Smith.
They are bringing pressure and does a good job of kind of reading the eyes of the quarterback. There's Damian Harris. Still is able to go up there. If he doesn't make that play, a very good chance that...
Again, and leads it 24-0 over the Razorbacks. Out here in the field. In this first half.
All the way to the end.
Kelly will heave it downfield for the first time. You see the arm strength. Diving catch. Jordan Jones makes the play down inside the Alabama 30. The kid can sling it.
Yeah, he beats Anthony Everett, but also you have Hootie Jones, 6, kind of caught up with his eyes in the wrong spot. Allows him to get behind Jones, and there's some great...
Kelly stands in, delivers short. Completion. Hammering down inside the 5 is Brandon Martin, so it's 1st and goal, 3 seconds to go. Kelly flips it middle, incomplete. Tried for a crossing route. Ronnie Harrison broke it up, and the defense for the Crimson Tide makes a stand to preserve a halftime shutout, 24-0. That will give him some confidence. Not short on confidence anyway. Here's a slant, and it is complete. That ball zipped in there for a first down to the 40. A very charismatic, likable leader of that team. The pressure the quarterback again, but it's a nice completion. Stewart takes a hard shot. First down throw from Hurts. Short diving interception. And the first interception of the season thrown by Jalen Hurts is made by Kevin Richardson.
Yeah, it just seems like Cam Sims and Jalen Hurts this drive just not in rhythm. That ball just hung out there forever. Give Richardson a lot of credit for being, you see him in the background there. He anticipates, gets a good jump on the ball, lays out and makes the play. See him right there? He eyes up Cam Sims right away. And that ball just kind of floated. That is a long throw. It's in the air for a very long time. And Kevin Richardson playing that nickel spot as a senior with that captain on his jersey ends up jumping in front and getting Arkansas the football back.
That is a spectacular pick, and the first in 206 pass attempts thrown by Jalen Hurts.
Paul Rhodes is
Tide bring the heat. Kelly stands, delivers. Catch is made down inside the 40 by Jordan Jones. Another first down. Not fun to be in the receiving end of one of those hits at all. On 3rd and 3, Whaley plows for a first down, and the Hogs are in business here. Said Connor Limpert, the lefty who was replacing Cole Headland, who'd missed a couple earlier. For just the second time this year, Arkansas has kicked a field goal. Limpert is 2 for 2. What a baptism in a tough place in your first college start, young fella. Boom! Pain. That guy feeling some. Hogs are on the board, though, 24-3. All these running backs and a quarterback who can throw a seed like that in the run. Tied 31-3.
It's working. They're up.
Good point. And there's a slant and a catch and heavy traffic made by Deion Stewart, who is harem by Mac Wilson. Sets up the Tide for a 37-yard, 5-play touchdown drive, or field goal drive, excuse me. And there's a completion for a first down. Hard shot delivered. Get it tough here, deep in the 4th. Into traffic.
Wow, great catch.
Touchdown. No signal yet. They still haven't signaled. Now, finally, arms in the air is Jordan Jones. You're right. Made a great catch, sandwiched between Crimson Tide defenders.
Great throw, but an unbelievable catch by the freshman. Jordan Jones works from the outside to the inside against Diggs, gets hit again by Mac Wilson. And he knew when he made that move to the inside, he had Trevon Diggs beaten. As a Reds fan, I get back into baseball now for the playoffs. It's been a long summer.
Robinson cuts it back.
Well, Alabama and Arkansas. Let's keep the thrills going. Maybe a comeback here because Bama was up early. Damian Harris touched it.
Who's coming back? Who's going to come back when Alabama's upset and Saban goes off during the week? Alabama's going to run you over.
Jalen Hurts and the quarterback keeper.
Such a weapon once they get inside the red zone. The vision and the mobility. Such an asset for this Crimson Tide offense.
Third quarter, it's Hurts to the play action. Rolling to his right. Hurts so good. Henry Ruggs the third.
Now I'm starting to get the feel that Arkansas is not going to come back. We got off theme there.
That's right. The theme was going, and it came to a halt.
Arkansas on the road to Tuscaloosa to face Alabama. They're 0-10 against the Tide since Nick Saban got there. Dabo Swinney, one night after his team lost at Syracuse, he's there as part of the 1992 championship team that was honored. First play from scrimmage, Damian Harris. He any good?
See this guy. How many times have we seen this happen on the first 2 or 3 runs of the game?
They
just
the first run punch you in the gut, and you cannot recover.
Fast, strong, explosive. He's got it all.
First in the league in rushing offense.
Here's some of that all you were talking about. Right
That would be the all.
Running through defenders, lowering the shoulder. Love the way he always finishes falling forward.
Wow. 9th touchdown of the year for Harris. More. Jalen Hurts, gives you that dimension. He's got a couple 100-yard games. Went for 60, make that 41 on the ground of this one. Now, Austin Allen out with injury. Cole Kelly, 6'7", 268-pound redshirt freshman. 18 career pass attempts coming in. This is his first start at Alabama. Kelly with a strike.
You mentioned earlier you don't see people running behind Georgia's defense. You never see people running behind Alabama's defense.
Kelly again lets it fly, and he got hit. Tries to force the pass.
Looked like Jonathan Allen from last year, remember?
Yeah, Rashaan Evans with his best Allen impression. Then Kelly, no. Ronnie Harrison breaks it up. That ends the half. So Arkansas, a goose egg into the third. Alabama's opening drive in the second half. Hurts picked up by Kevin Richardson. His first interception thrown all season.
Wonder what he was thinking walking to the sideline. I haven't had that happen in a minute.
Yeah. Hurts, then rolls, throws, not intercepted.
Made up for it.
Henry Ruggs the third, touchdown from 20 yards. Fourth catch of the year for Ruggs. They're all touchdowns. All four of them.
It's like Chris Carter, right?
Right. All he does is catch touchdowns. 41-9. Alabama takes care of the Razorbacks to go to 7-0 with Tennessee next week. Here's Nick Saban.
I was happy with the way we played today. We had a few rough spots, but hit a few bumps, but I like the way the players persevered, played 60 minutes in the game, and did a nice job in the second half of finishing the game.
The first play of the game was a 75-yard touchdown run by Damien Harris. How did that set the tone for this game?
That's the way we want to start. I like to start every game that way. He would too.
All right, well, I guess I'll talk to Damien Harris. A great start for you. Thank you so much, Coach. And you got your coach smiling at the end of the game. What did it mean to start with that kind of momentum in this one?
You know, that's just kind of what we focus on every game. You know, as an offense, we want to come out and start fast. You know, defense, if the defense is on the field first, you know, they want to get a 3 and out, get the ball back for us. You know, we just want to play fast, and we want to really set the tone on offense, whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball. You know, we did a good job of that today.
Dominant, right? This was Alabama being Alabama.
The quietest 500-yard performance on offense that you'll ever see. And I think we just take it for granted, right? We take all this stuff that Alabama does for granted because it never seems to deviate from this at all.
Complacency kills, and Alabama never plays with that. And you can tell that Nick makes sure of that. I mean, look, this is a championship caliber team. As you see teams stumble, I don't see a weakness in this team right now. I don't see how they're going to be able to stumble all the way through. I think their biggest challenge is going to be obviously in the Iron Bowl and then when they get to the SEC championship. But guys, I could go through a litany of stats to wow everybody. This is just a great football team. Red zone defense, you can get down there, you can't score.
Smothering defense.
It's smothering defense. I mean, you saw Rashaan Evans fighting and clawing and scratching to get to the quarterback. They're up by 30-something points. That's how these guys play. They only know one speed. They only know one way to play. They're a dominating, smothering team. And I don't see it changing because I see this team getting better every week, as good as they were at the beginning. So they're still improving.
What's the conversation this week? Remember last week Saban was on his team about the rat poison and believing what the media says. What does he get on him this week for? A couple turnovers maybe? I think they fumbled the ball 3 times. They lost one of them. First interception that they threw of the season.
And the receiver getting behind the DBs. There are going to be 4 or 5 things he can point to, but there's not going to be many.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
And for Arkansas, you can't run the ball. You can't win football games with a guy making his first start. 29 carries, 27 yards for the Razorbacks on the ground.
Yeah, and we've heard it before again with Alabama's defense. That's not the first team that's happened to.
No, not even this month.
Over to the SEC, Ed Orgeron, LSU taking a number 10 Auburn. It was a hot day in Baton Rouge. Don't believe me? Seriously, look at how hot this is. First quarter, Auburn ball at midfield leading at 3-0. Jarrett Stidham dropping back deep to Will Hastings.
This is one of my favorite stories in college football. Will Hastings 2 years ago was the backup kicker for Auburn. He was an onside kick specialist.
Later in the first, Kerryon Johnson direct snap. How huge has he been?
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson has made this Auburn offense a difference maker.
Auburn extends the lead to 17-0. Second quarter, Stephen Sullivan. That gets LSU on the board.
It's 4th down, right? They need that play to start gaining some momentum.
40 seconds left in the half. Danny Etling to Russell Gage.
Talk about momentum. Danny Etling needs some momentum. He needs to start completing some of these balls, making some of these throws.
Fourth quarter, Aiden Marshall punts it deep. How key are special teams when it comes to a big comeback? Well, look at DJ Chark and the moves he makes.
Literally outkicked his coverage, and DJ Chark able to set up some blocks. He just got a convoy down the left sideline, then showing off his speed.
A 75-yard touchdown. LSU cuts the lead 23-21. 2:41 left. It's Connor Culp. He's more than culpable. 42-yard field goal, and LSU takes the lead.
Auburn was a different team in the second half. Couldn't move the ball. Give LSU credit. Played much better defense.
Last chance for Auburn. Trailing by 4. Stidham drops back. Sacked by Arden Key.
Arden Key missed the first couple of games because of injury. Back in the lineup now and making a difference.
Coach O, how we doing?
I knew our guys would fight. But let me say this to you. This is a good football team, and they've exploded on everybody in the first quarter. They've annihilated some people in the first half, and we were resilient. We kept on playing. I think the difference in the football game, overall team win, was the way our defense came out and shut them out in the second half and the way our special teams played.
I'm frustrated we got beat. We were up, very disappointed, but we're going to rebound. And so I'm not going to say I'm frustrated with our coaches or players. No, we're going to rebound, and that's what we're going to do.
We're just becoming a football team, and our whole staff is galvanized. Our football team is galvanized, and it's what we wanted to be. One team, one heartbeat. We showed it today.
Definitely showed it on Saturday as LSU got down 20-0 in the second quarter on the way to giving up 290 yards in the first half. But they held Auburn to no points. That's right, 64 yards. That's it in the second half. For Auburn, they've managed a total of 79 yards of offense in the second half of their two losses. They had 15 against Clemson. Wish I could have seen the halftime speech Coach O gave that defense.
Crazy, crazy football game. So here we go. Auburn hadn't won in Baton Rouge, and by the way, since 1999, and it looked like that was going to change. LSU guys kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Kerryon Johnson, 20-yard gain, and then gets popped out of bounds. Yeah, penalties have killed him all season.
Yeah, it has. But this is a familiar sight. I see this every week, and particularly in the first series. Kerryon Johnson busting a long run. Turned into points.
3-0 game. Danny Etling then to DJ Chark, gain of 39, but as he turns to run, he gets hit and fumbles. Carlton Davis forced the fumble. Auburn recovers.
This one you think you got something going offensively there. Great play by Auburn's defense in stripping that ball out and thwarting any threat of a scoring drive by LSU in the first quarter.
All right. Fun with Fonts. Carry on the load. 204 yards last week, a career high, and he was at it again. Another touchdown. 13 rushing touchdowns, leads the nation. Then carry on again, right side for 17 yards. How about 123 yards in the first half of this game?
Yeah, I mean, every week he's productive, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes he's at Wildcat, sometimes it's an inside run game, outside run game, but he's always productive.
Etling, receiver slips. Daniel Thomas, the INT. Oh, but wait a minute. No INT. LSU gets it back. Down 23-7. Etling to Russell Gage, scoring life.
Huge catch right there, laying out right before the half. They desperately needed to get some momentum before they went into the locker room. Russell Gage made that play there when he had to for his team.
23-14 at halftime. They honor the 07 national champs, and Les Miles, for the record, got a heck of an ovation. That's pretty cool. All right, fourth quarter. Auburn punting the ball. Chark fields it at his own 25. Heads backwards about 6, heads forward about 75. Chark, second punt return touchdown of the season. The record is 3, set exactly 80 years ago for LSU, 23-21.
This guy's a game changer. He's done it. We've seen him do this before on other punts, but he is, whenever he gets the ball in his hands, he's dangerous.
Guys, remember when it was 20-zip Auburn? Darius Geis lowers the shoulder, first down on 3rd and 5. 42-yarder, Connor Culp for the lead.
Drills it.
24-23. Auburn, though, next possession. Still some time here. Under 2 to go. Jarrett Stidham. Darius Slayton can't make the play. 4th and 10. After an Auburn timeout. You see it just gets right through the hands. Would have set up a 4th and about 1. Stidham drops. Runs right. Throws downfield. Dante Jackson knocks it away.
Great play.
Takes over.
Great play by him, and that's what we've been waiting to see him do. He's the guy that should be the catalyst back there for making big plays.
Oh, that would have been a big play, too. Would have been just points on the board. A little name in your paper. See if Booger's going to talk about him later. Who knows? Stidham then. 4th and 10. Hit and sacked by Arden Key. Game is over. LSU comes from 20-0 down to get the 27-23 win. Chark with a big game. Ogeron with a big win.
You know, we had a bust at the beginning, obviously. But I thought David Ratton had ice in his veins tonight, man. He just kept on calling it, kept on making adjustments on the sideline. So did Corey. Our guys kept on playing. We made some mistakes very early. Other people would have tended to quit. Not us. We kept on working, but we fixed the problems, and we didn't call different defenses. We ran the same defenses, but we made the adjustments when we needed to make them. I knew our guys would fight. Let me say this to you. This is a good football team, and they've exploded on everybody in the first quarter. They've annihilated some people in the first half, and we were resilient. We kept on playing. I think the difference in the football game, overall team win, was the way our defense came out and shut them out in the second half and the way our special teams played.
The guys know how hard we work. We came out. We've been in spots worse than this before, and we just wanted to show that we can do the unthinkable. A lot of guys count us out. I mean, you know, we lost to Mississippi State, and it was like, oh, yeah, you know, they have an SEC team, then we lose to Troy, and we knew that the guys that came before us, they wouldn't accept that. And we know we don't want to be the guys to let those guys down. It's a brotherhood here, and so we all got together, we gutted it out, and this is how we got to play from now on.
There was a turnaround point in this game. First 17-10 of the game, into the early second quarter. Look at the yardage. Auburn had owned LSU 225-67, but the rest of the way, LSU outgained the Tigers by almost 170 yards en route to their first win against an AP top 10 team since 2015. Chiz, what'd you see?
Well, first of all, sometimes, as Coach O said, the best adjustment is no adjustment. And that's true on defense. Absolutely. You go into the locker room and you say, guys, we're not changing anything. Here's what they're doing, and we're playing it poorly. And you simply point that out. You can see right now there was an enormous change. Guys showed up. I mean, let me tell you something. Between, you know, Arden Key, we hadn't seen him a whole lot. Dante Jackson, we haven't seen him a whole lot. What about Devin White? Maybe the best linebacker. Their play in the second half, and really for the last three quarters, was dominating on defense. So my hat is definitely off to Dave Aranda because he did what he needed to do. Pointed out what was wrong. You go fix it. Play with passion and energy. They did that. Yeah. And they dominated the football game for the last three quarters.
Let's give credit, too, to the coaching staff, not necessarily for what they did from a schematic standpoint, but from a mental coaching standpoint. Right. This was a mentally fragile team. You look at what they did. They gave up against LSU. They lost that game. A lot of people criticized how soft they were against Troy. Well, they fixed those two things the last couple of weeks. And remember that players-only meeting? You never know about some of those things.
Those could go either way.
Those guys have stepped up, all right? They could have folded the tents up when they were down 20-0 today. That game could have easily been over, but they fought back, and they were very physical on both lines of scrimmage. They played their run fits very, very well and completely shut down Auburn's running game there in the second half.
All things that LSU was able to successfully do, but what about Auburn? This was a team that came in playing, quite frankly, as well as anybody in this league and as well as maybe almost anybody in the country. Second half, they get shut down. They weren't able to run. They weren't able to throw. Why?
Well, I thought that we've all talked about the evolution of the passing game, and Jarrett Stidham here for this Auburn team and bringing another dimension to a team we know that can run the football well. Today, LSU took that running game away. In the second half, I mean, Kerryon had 123 yards in the first half, very little in the second half because of that discipline, because of playing those run fits that LSU did. And then Auburn became very one-dimensional. They couldn't throw the football. They didn't have a very good plan. There wasn't a whole lot of intermediate routes to run. They were throwing a lot of deep balls down the sideline that were nothing more than 50-50 balls. And that's not a great plan for complementing a good run game.
LSU could rush the quarterback. They got 3 sacks today, 11 pass breakups. That's unbelievable. If you go into a game and you get 6 to 7 pass breakups in a game, you're playing well on defense. They had 11 today. So they were pressuring the quarterback. Their run fits became evidently much cleaner in the second half. And they were just being productive on defense and playing really hard because they didn't quit. And that's a great point.
It was fun to watch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And fundamentally, they were playing with pad level and leverage, and they played very physical, I thought.
Something turned with that Troy loss. They've had 2 big wins LSU has since then.
And it could have went either way.
And it could have gone. That's a great point. Back-to-back wins, Florida and Auburn. Auburn's second overall loss likely keeps them out of the playoff. No 2-loss team has been there before, but they still have the SEC that they can play for.